Jacob Frenkel is the chairman of J.P. Chase International, former two-time governor of the Bank of Israel, joins us bright and early and is certainly at the forefront of the debate on central banking. What is amazing, Tom, you will appreciate this, Jacob has been to 28 Jackson Hole meetings, Kansas City Fed. That's amazing. You probably have been here more than anybody.
Well, I'm not sure, but each time it is as exciting as in the first time.
Is it as exciting this year with Chairman Ben Bernanke not here, with ECB President Mario Draghi not here? You say it is.
I'm sure it is. Of course, it would be nice to have all of these people here, but the fact is that this is a unique situation where you bring people from central banking, from academia, from the financial sector, and internationally. It's probably one of the most international forums that the Federal Reserve is organizing. It is always exciting, always timely, and always informative.
And the papers really drive the debate when it comes to policy. On the international front, on the central banking front, have to ask you about your recent decision. You have been the Bank of Israel governor 2 times, and now the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister have called upon you to do it again. You've declined. Why?
Well, I must confess it was tempting, and when I entered into the arena, it has become so politicized, and many things came up that were completely irrelevant, and I just reflected and I said, is that what I want to do again after having been there twice? And I decided that my life today with JP Morgan is so pleasant and productive. I'm going to continue being interested in central banking and, of course, in Israel, but not as a governor. And
that is why you are here today. And here today, everybody is talking about the next step in central banking, specifically from the Federal Reserve, tapering or scaling back some of the extraordinary stimulus that has been put in place. We need to think about the international implications. It could be dicey.
Well, of course, and that's why it is such a challenge. But in perspective, let's remember, we are now in the year 2013. If we were told when it all started years ago that the so-called temporary measure will last for so long, nobody would have believed. So the fact that one talks about tapering should not be a surprise. It had to come with the territory. In fact, the expansion of central banks' balance sheets all over the world, not only in the United States, has been extraordinary and well done, and it served its cause.
But it's time to scale back.
Well, it is time to plan the scaling back when circumstances allow. The delicate issue is, on the one hand, you have had extraordinary excess leverage all over the world, and all of these activities of the QE, etc., are increasing some of the leverages, particularly of central banks and the public sector. By the same token, you have still a slowdown that is still not completely behind us. And if you are starting tapering, you are going to potentially aggravate it. The delicate balance is there, and now you introduce a new feature, which is it's not only the United States we should be, and the reality is that emerging markets are now completely fearful. They are so concerned about what will happen to us. We will do everything right, they say, but still the storms are coming from outside. A study showed that much of the destiny, of the economic destiny of the emerging markets today is determined by external factors more than domestic. So that's why there is such an international issue.
Do you fear an emerging markets type crisis a la 1997, capital outflows? I mean, yes, we're starting to see the carnage in the markets with the record low rupee and the Indonesian rupiah, but is this something to worry about?
Well, it is always something to be concerned about, but the important thing that each country in the emerging market can do is to strengthen their own situation and put their own house in order, in particularly the financial sector. But by the same token, there is no question that what happens in the Fed will affect them significantly.
How is the health of our nation's labor market, the U.S.? 7.4% unemployment doesn't tell the whole story.
Well, 7.4 unemployment is, of course, much better than what it was just a few years ago. But the reality is that the unemployment rate in the United States is very diverse. If you are a college graduate, your unemployment rate is likely to be 3.8. If you have less than high school education, your unemployment rate is likely to be more than 11%. In other words, the labor market in the United States is not so homogeneous. We need to recognize the fact that as the unemployment rate has declined in the United States, the labor force participation in the United States has also been on the decline. By the same token, in Europe, when the unemployment rate went up, the labor force participation went up. The thing that concern me most about the unemployment rate in the United States is the duration of unemployment. At the beginning of the decade, in the year 2000, about 10% of the unemployed were unemployed for 27 weeks and above. Today, it's close to 40%.
And what does that tell you?
What it means is that if you are unemployed for half a year, it is very unlikely that you will find easily a job and you will re-enter the productive part of the economy. It may have some structural features to it.
Longer term.
Much longer term. It means that job retraining has to be part and parcel of all of that. It means that enhancing mobility part and parcel of all of it. We need, when we look at unemployment, especially as a threshold, as a guide for the Fed what to do, the unemployment rate, as they do, needs to be dissected. How much of it is participation? How much of it is part-timers? Because a very significant part of the volatility of unemployment rate comes from the part-timers.
Well,
in Europe, the story is very, very similar, but yet even more difficult, because in Europe you have countries with 27% unemployment, and that's Spain, Greece, and Germany, less than 7%.
All right, Jacob Frenkel, the chairman of JP Morgan Chase International.